Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to head over to America once again, and we're going to take a little break actually from the Chicago Beer Week beers that I've been doing for you, the ones that I was buying from Kiosk over in Copenhagen. And for this one we've got one of the small partiers that came through Systembolaget on the I want to say the 2nd of November 2018 actually, if I'm remembering the date right. But for this one, we're going to return to Grand Rapids in Michigan, which is of course home to Founders Brewing Company, one of the more recognisable American craft breweries that we get over here in Europe. So for this one, we're going to have a taste of Old Curmudgeon's Better Half. This guy is an old ale coming in at 12.7% ABV. This one in particular is brewed with molasses and aged in maple syrup bourbon barrels, so it should be really interesting. This one is part of their barrel aged series, and I'm very curious to see how this turns out. I've not had too many old ales on the channel actually, so this one I'm very curious about, because these barrel aged beers from Founders always tend to be very nice. So really looking forward to this one, and as always I hope you guys enjoy my take on this beer. So anyway, as is usual with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from Founders before. This must be review number 15 or so that I've done from these guys. There's all the usual social media. If you want to see more beer reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel of course has a geography based tagging system, so you can go into the home page and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlist of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the American reviews that I've done for you. That's constantly being added to, and as always please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about Founders Brewing Company then. So this brewery was originally founded back in 1997 as the Canal Street Brewing Company in Grand Rapids in Michigan, and the two main founders were Mike Stevens and David Engbers. But the two were home brewing enthusiasts, and they only recently graduated from university at this point, but they both managed to secure steady jobs. But they decided that they wanted to follow their passion. They drew up a business plan, took out some hefty loans and quit their jobs. But in the 1800s, several breweries had operated in the Canal Street area of Grand Rapids, and this area is apparently now known as Monroe Avenue. And the original labels on these beers for the Canal Street Brewing Company were, it was basically like a black and white photo of the original Canal Street breweries with the word Founders above it, and the brewery eventually became known as Founders Brewing Company, and they changed the name a little bit officially later. But since the mid-2000s, the brewery's grown substantially, and they now produce around 340,000 litres of beer per year, and their sales market is constantly growing. They had to apparently have a radical rethink of what the beers were like that they were producing, because they were struggling for a point in time actually, and they were producing some quite well balanced things, they said, but they weren't quite out there enough to actually make a name for themselves. But they have a tap room which overlooks the brewing facilities, and the customers can get a view of the team actually brewing the beers there. But they also throw an annual festival which is called Founders Fest in the street, and they close the street down in front of the brewery, and they've got local music, local food, some other local breweries and stuff like that, and they just say it's a really nice thing. It would actually be quite cool one year to go along to the Founders Fest, but as I've said in some other videos, it's been about 8-9 years since I was out in America last time, so that's something I do need to fix at some point fairly soon. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. As I say, it's been a very long time since I was over in America, so I will need to fix that at some point. It would be cool to go and visit some of these breweries that I've become quite accustomed to. But yeah, that's all you really need to know about Founders Brewing Company just now. As I said, these guys are one of the more recognisable craft beer names that we have from America here in Europe. Most of the beers that we get from America actually tend to be from California or from Colorado. Those are the two big beer states that we tend to get over here, and of course we get the Founders as well from Michigan. But yeah, if you want to learn a little bit more about these guys, check out the brewery website in the description below. You can follow them on Facebook and Instagram and things like that, and that'll keep you up to date with all the latest goings on. So yeah, let's get on to the tasting of this beer itself. So like I said to you at the start of the video, this one is a 12.7% old ale, and I'm going to do something that I've never actually really done on the channel before. I'm going to bring up Rate Beer, and I'm going to give you their definition of the old ale, because this It's a style that seems to have a lot of different things. So Rate Beer says Old Ale is a simple enough style to figure out, at least once you've understood that there are 3 or 4 different beer styles that are called Old Ale. The first is the best known, which is the strong, dark, Old Peculier type beer. The second is the Old Ale blended, it's like a blended dark ale, and at least one of the beers comprising this blend will be aged for a couple of years in wood casks. The third version of the Old Ale is a form of mild, which is a low gravity beer. That's one of the traditional English styles of beer, and another version of the Old Ale is closely related to the first. And the guy who's written this says, for me, these are robustly malty beers akin to a top fermented version of a Doppelbock, because of course the German Doppelbock is kind of like basically it's like a very, very kind of strong, very, very malty lager. Really, it is technically a lager beer, that, because you have to ferment it at low temperatures. But yeah, the Old Ale is one that you will come across that doesn't seem to have a particular flavour set, if you like. They always tend to be quite different. But yeah, let's get rid of the computer just now and we'll get on to the tasting of this beer itself. So like I said to you, 12.7% Old Ale one. I'm curious to see which one of those definitions that this one fits into, but this one has been brewed with molasses and aged in maple syrup bourbon barrels, and it was apparently known as Kaiser Curmudgeon for a little while, or Curmudgeon's Kaiser, something like that it was known as first off. But yeah, very curious to see how this one turns out. Coming in at 12.7%, it is a little bit of a monster, but there you can see, nicely presented beer, this one. There you can see the Founders barrel aged symbol there. You can see that's also on the top label as well, and then it is on the bottle cap. So yeah, nicely presented beer, this one, I have to say. But yeah, without further ado then, let's get this guy out and we will get on with the tasting. Let's pop this guy open. Yeah, nice little bit of smoke on the opening there, and we'll get it out and into the glass. There we go. So yeah, look at that, it's a beautiful coloured beer, that. As I say, this was one of the small partiers that we had in Systembolaget here in Sweden on, I think, the 2nd of November was when I would have ordered this one. But yeah, lovely looking beer this. You can actually see with the light on this one, it's a very, very dark sort of ruby colour. There's a solid finger of a frothy, I would say light beige head on this one. 1 or 2 big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, and quite a few little ones just going up towards the bottom of that head there. But this beer is actually crystal clear. If I hold this up to the light, it is pretty clear. I'm not sure how well you can see that on the camera there, but yeah, crystal clear looking beer, this one. But yeah, really nice, you know, it's just really nice looking, and you can smell some of these lovely big malty qualities of this one as you you know, as you just move the beer about. But let's take a closer look at the aroma then and just see how we get on. The appearance of these old ales, of course, can be quite a bit different. So yeah, ooh, that smells very, very nice. So yeah, you can definitely get this kind of the maple syrup, and it's almost got like a honey kind of note to it as well. Definitely maple syrup, honey, a little bit of a honeycomb. It's definitely got a bit of a biscuity edge to it, and you can smell some of the kind of woody notes in there. I'm not sure if I can quite say vanilla, but definitely this beer is very brown sugar forward. Definitely. It smells absolutely lovely, actually. So yeah, definitely some nice woody notes. Okay, I don't know about vanilla. Maybe even a little touch of a nutty note, but brown sugars, and they're quite well fired brown sugars actually. A little bit very kind of syrupy and oily brown sugars more than anything. A mix of treacle and molasses, but at the same time, it does have a little bit. The aromas in this one almost remind me a little bit of some of the German kind of Dunkel beers and the Doppelbocks and stuff like that. It does have a little bit of that kind of aroma to it, but very woody, very a good little bit of a nutty note in there. Some treacle, molasses, however you want to call it. The Americans call it molasses. Yeah, a lovely bit of biscuit, you know, a bit of a sweeter caramel as well. And there's a little touch of red fruit coming out of this one, maybe like a sort of figgy kind of note, maybe a little touch of like phenol or something like that, just a little bit of it. It's got a little bit of that almost kind of cough syrupy, medicinal sort of thing there, but not. It's not the same as the kind of note you can get from like a Belgian Dubel or a Quadrupel, for example. So yeah, just take a little bit of time and enjoy the aroma of this one before you get stuck into it. But mainly, it's a lovely big brown sugary kind of beer, this one. So yeah, let's have a taste of this one then and just see how we get on. So this one is Old Curmudgeon's Better Half from Founders Brewing Company in Grand Rapids in Michigan. Very, very curious to see how this beer turns out. And this, of course, the original Old Curmudgeon is just a regular one without the maple syrup and stuff like that. And I probably should have said that at the start of the video. I just realised that I had the beer out already. But yeah, let's have a taste of this beer then. So the Old Curmudgeon's better half, a 12.7% old ale from Founders Brewing Company over in Grand Rapids in Michigan. Let's get stuck into this one. Slàinte, skål. Ooh. That is nice. Yeah, I mean, one thing I would say about this, there's very, very little, if any, hop presence to this one, which is quite interesting. Yeah, the hoppy side of this beer is very, very smooth. It almost reminds me of some of these Malztrinken things that you can get in Germany, where it is literally just, you know, boiled up malt mixed into the water. But yeah, I will say this is a really, really nice beer. I think it was rated like 97 or something like that on Rate Beer when I had a quick look earlier on, and you know, on the basis of the flavours that I'm picking out of this, I can see why it's highly rated, but you can feel the alcohol warmth in this one right away. This is a bit of a monster, more than anything. Yeah, just take a few sips of this beer and let your whole mouth adjust to it before you start trying to break it down a little bit. It really is very, very nice. So yeah, let's try and break this down a little bit then. So with this one, you can feel the middle of your palate is just pretty much blanketed with this sort of biscuity honeycomb kind of thing. That kind of forms the linchpin of this beer. On top of that, you start to get the slightly thicker, more syrupy brown sugars out of the beer. Yeah, it's like you take this beer in and you just feel the brown sugars spreading across. They just like spreading across the your palate there, and it just, you can feel right in the centre of your palate you've got a little bit of this sweet, sweeter caramel thing, and outside of it you've got a little bit more of a toasty, slightly roasty caramel, and then further out you start to get these slightly darker, more syrupy treacle molasses kind of things there. It's all about where the kind of flavour's distributed in this one. And then towards the front of the palate a little bit more, you can pick out the kind of woody elements to this beer. There is maybe a little touch of nut in there, but it's got a nice kind of woody element to it as well. Yeah, it definitely has it's got a nice little bit of that woody, nutty kind of quality to it as well. I like how everything kind of goes together in that. These flavours are really nice, but there's almost, it does, to me, this beer does have a kind of honeycomb flavour to it, and this kind of honey type thing. The maple syrup's kind of mixing in with that. To me, it doesn't taste like straight up maple syrup. It tastes like maple syrup that they've chucked a bit of honeycomb in and stirred it all up, something like that. It has that kind of vibe about it, this beer, and it's almost like those caramel flavours that I was talking about, it just tastes like the whole thing is kind of infused with that, but they come out a little bit more towards the front of the palate where you've got the kind of woody underlyings of the beer, if that makes sense. It's got a whole, it's just really interesting. This beer is all about the brown sugars, but it's got a lot of complexity within that. I'd love to see the recipe for this one. I would love to see what they've actually, what malts and things they've put in that, but Founders are one of the breweries that don't release that. I would love to just see the malt bill for this beer, because I would bet there's a good mix of at least 4 or 5 different malts in there, and then of course you've got the adjuncts that they've added to it, and then the effects you have from the fermentation and the barrels as well. You know, it's there's going to be a hell of a lot of stuff going on in this beer, but really, as I say, it's all about the brown sugars, but then you've got all these little subtleties to it. But to me, this is a really, really nice beer. I don't know if you can really, out of those 4 categories and things that we have, it was saying for the old ale, I'm not sure exactly which one you could fit it into. It's definitely not the one, I don't think this one is kind of like one of the blends. I think it would probably be number 1 or number 4 on that list that that one had. Definitely not one of the ones that's like a mild. The English mild is really quite different. You know, it's a lot darker than this. But yeah, this is a really interesting thing. It's kind of similar to a Doppelbock, but just it's got a different profile of brown sugar flavour, if that makes any sense at all. But to me, very, very nice beer, and I can see why people like this one. I would like to try the original Curmudgeon and just see what that one's like too. But to me, very, very nice beer, this. Hoppy side of things, like as I was saying with this beer, you really don't get much hoppiness out of it at all. There's a little touch of earthiness there in the back corners of the palate. It smooths out and comes further forward. Not even any real floral character to it at the front corners of the palate as well, but then round the front curve of the tongue, you can pick up a little hint of grassiness in there. Yeah. You can really pick up just a little touch of that grassiness in this beer, but it is nice. And then behind the front curve of the palate, of course, that's where you get that nice oily bubble where those juicy fruity esters start to come out of the beer. And for me, this one, it has that almost kind of boozy, not quite rum cake, but not too far away from rum cake. It's definitely got a little bit of this kind of cough syrupy, medicinal kind of thing to it, but it's not phenols in the same way that you would get from like a Belgian brown or a Belgian quad or Dubel or something like that. It's definitely got a little bit more kind of brown sugary sort of elements to it as well. But to me, a little bit like of a kind of pruny or maybe dates or something like that. There could well be a little touch of like a kind of dried apricot or something like that in here. There's a wee touch, definitely a wee touch of a dried apricot, I think, for me. But then you've got the typical kind of figs, and there's maybe a little touch of a raisiny sharpness to this as well. Yeah, I think it reminds me a little bit of sultana, some of the fruity flavours in this one. It's got all these different little kind of sultana notes to it. I like that. I really do like that about this beer. It's got a good complexity in the fruit notes. As I say, a kind of fundamental base of like cough syrup, but then some dates, some prunes maybe, a little bit of dried apricot, but then it's got some of the figgy, raisiny notes to it as well. And then it becomes a little bit more candied the further into the flavour that you go. But I like how everything goes together in this one. It's a very, very complex beer, and at 12.7% as well, it does cover the alcohol quite well. Once you get over the initial sort of a little burn that you're going to get from it, it does cover the alcohol pretty well. But in terms of the mouthfeel, then definitely a full-bodied beer. Carbonation's very smooth. The mouthfeel is definitely oily. The malt base is very, very sweet. There are some darker elements to it, like I said, but it is a sweet malt base. The hops in this one are very, very smooth. If it's got any IBUs to it at all, at most I would say it must be about 15 IBUs or something. There is like no hoppy bitterness to this beer at all, and it's got a lovely juicy fruity note to it as well. But overall, this is definitely one of these ones that it's turned out as a very nice beer. I can see why it's so highly rated, and it's all about how these flavours kind of blend together, and it's all about the brown sugars and the different subtleties you can get to it. But a big thumbs up to Founders Brewing Company for this one, and it's been cool to try another old ale because there's not too many of them around. You won't find too many of this beer style around, so it's cool to see that Founders are playing with this a little bit. So yeah, let's leave it at that for this one. So this one was the Old Curmudgeon's Better Half, an English style old ale at 12.7%. This one was I think they added maple syrup to it, or molasses that they added to it, and they aged it in maple syrup bourbon barrels as well. But yeah, really interesting beer this, and I like how everything how everything goes together in it. So have a go at this beer for yourself and just see what you think. But let's leave it at that for just now. So once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this one in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Founders Brewing Company as well. Hopefully I can do a review of the original Curmudgeon for you at some point soon, and but it just depends on whether we get it through the small partiers here in Sweden, but I'm sure I have actually seen it at some point before. But enjoyed this beer review. I look forward to more from Founders. Thank you again for watching, and I will catch you guys very soon. Make sure you check out my social media, comment in the section below, and I'll catch you guys later. Slàinte, skål.